It's time for the Hockey Writers Grindline, a weekly show covering everything Detroit Red Wings. Brought to you by our own iconic top line of Wings writers. Sit back and enjoy The Grind.
Welcome to the Hockey Writers Grindline. I'm your host, Patrick Brown. Joining me, as always, my line mates, Kyle Knopp and Devin Little. And, oh, what the heck, Rachel, I think at this point, it's fair to call you a line mate as well. So
I'll take it.
Thank you for joining us again, ladies and gentlemen. Happy to welcome back to the show, managing editor of Access Hockey MI and a great friend of the show, Rachel Anderson. How was your week? How are you doing?
It's pretty good. It's better now that I'm on the show.
That's what we like to hear. We are eagerly awaiting a cliffhanger answer that you left us with last week. So for those of you watching, make sure you tune in for the whole time, because Rachel, she's got a little explaining to do.
Oh, yeah.
So, that said, let's dive in because we have a lot of ground to cover as usual. Last week's show was almost entirely focused on the NHL entry draft, which means we didn't talk really at all about something else huge that happened, free agency. So if you haven't checked it out, we actually published our weekly column this week on our grades, how we graded the Red Wings in free agency. Just to recap super quick, the Red Wings re-signed or added, and we've agreed we're just going to say this, Ned, the goalie. And I'll go through this super quick. Michael Rasmussen, Mark Stahl, Kyle Criscuolo, Brian Lashoff, Taro Hirose, Sam Gagne, Calvin Pickard, Pius Suter, Jordan Osterley, and Tyler Bertuzzi. By the way, people who we said goodbye to, in addition to Glendening and Helm, who we paid homage to last week, Alex Biega, Dylan McElrath, and Jonathan Bernier. So we know we've got all that. Rachel, we're going to start with you. And here is the question. What was your favorite pickup that Steve Yzerman and the Red Wings made in free agency this offseason?
Hands down, Nedeljkovic. I was really excited for that one because I've watched him for a little bit in the AHL with the Checkers, and he was part of their Calder Cup run, and it was just epic there. And I was really excited to see how he'd turn out. So when he went for his rookie season in Carolina, going, I think, 15-5-3 in his rookie season in the NHL, that's pretty dang impressive. So, and everyone knows Detroit's been kind of struggling with goaltending development and all that. It takes a long time. So Nedeljkovic coming in, already pretty well suited for the NHL. I think he's going to be fantastic for Greiss and doing a tandem. I think you're probably potentially going to see a lot more of Nedeljkovic in the beginning than you will of Greiss in the crease for sure. So I was pumped about that one.
Good stuff. Devin, we're going to swing it over to you. What was your favorite move this free agency offseason?
Well, I would be remiss to not at least mention my two Broncos that joined the team, and Jordan Osterley and Luke Witkowski. So yes, fight on for Western. But no, my shameless self-plug here is Pius Suter. I think he was I was very surprised to see the Blackhawks let him walk to free agency. So then to have Detroit be the team that scooped him up, I mean, there's a lot to be excited about this kid. And it's not just the fact that he played with Robbie Fabry and Tyler Bertuzzi and juniors. I think this kid has a lot of upside. He's only 25 years old. The book is not out on this kid yet. And I think he, whether it's on the wing or down the middle, he has a lot of offensive upside that this team desperately needed last season. So hopefully he can take another step forward next season.
All right, so the top two are off the board. There's that low-hanging fruit. Kyle, bring us home. Your thoughts on the Red Wings' best pickup this offseason?
So I'm going to talk about two players that were picked up via trade and not via the free agency market, and that would be Nick Leddy and Mitchell Stevens. First, Nick Leddy, I think, is a great short-term answer on the left side on our back end and will be a great addition to the power play unit, whether he runs the first or the second power play. Having him and Hronik offset each other on the two power play units is going to be key to have that quarterback up top within the zone setting up. So that I think is a great pickup for the short term, especially if we see Seider next year. So we'll talk about that later.
Dun, dun, dun.
And then I think someone that is not getting much talked about right now is Mitchell Stevens. You know, he was a fourth line center kind of down in Tampa Bay, but oftentimes on the outside looking in. You know, I worked with him personally. I actually used to drive him to the rink in Saginaw to and from practice, so I know him quite well. But I think he's really going to come in and challenge for that third and fourth line center. He wins faceoffs. You know, he's a Luke Glendening type in that regard, and he kills penalties. And he's just one of those guys that competes. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see him in the winged wheel and see what he can bring to the team.
Good stuff. And I'm not going to lie. I thought for sure you were going for one of those two, and you took a hard left, which was awesome. So well done. Well done. For what it's worth, I would have said Ned up until, much like Devin said, they went and signed Seider.
Mm-hmm.
And I never thought I'd say this in my life, but thank you, Chicago Blackhawks.
I mean,
that is the one and only time.
Yeah. I mean, shout out to the Blackhawk banner. I mean, thank you. High five for that assist. We extra love you this week. But no, I mean, Seider's going to be a great pickup. He's young. He's, you know, on the smaller side, but as we've seen in the NHL the last few years, that's really been more of a bonus for a lot of teams that have those guys that are competitors, and Seider's going to be that type of guy, and he's got friendly faces, and I think that's a great pickup.
And, you know, if anybody ever goes and looks up certain players at the Hockey Writers website, you see certain docs that are related to these players. If you look at Seider's page and you see all the awards he's already earned, you can tell the kid's going to be something special.
Yeah.
And it was really exciting to see that. So that was definitely my pick as well. And really good thoughts. I think there was a lot to be excited about. There wasn't a big splash, but I don't think anybody expected one this year. And I think depending on what the needs are in future off seasons, that's when we'll start to see those wheels turn. So let's talk about maybe some missed opportunities. Did you see any missed opportunities that maybe someone was out there that didn't get picked up or anything like that? Rachel, I want to start with you again.
Honestly, I'd say no. I thought Detroit did a really good job this time around. And in seasons past, it's been a little sketchy. We haven't been as active, but I was really hoping for Ned in the first place. So the fact that we got him was really exciting. And I thought I would have been content with just that. But Yzerman and company did a fantastic job. So I don't think we really missed out on too much opportunity. And the players that were available were looking for a little bit more money than Yzerman was willing to give up at this time. He's looking for shorter contracts, a little bit more affordable. He doesn't want to cap himself like we had been in the past. So I think with what was available at that price point and what he was looking for as far as contract length, I think we did a really good job and we got who I wanted.
So Kyle, let's swing it over to you. Any missed opportunities, anything that maybe could have been addressed or someone you had your eye on that the Wings didn't grab?
With the way the Wings moved quickly on getting that goaltender piece and that left side defenseman piece, it really kind of left the door open to allow them to look into those opportunities for making that splash, looking for that true first line center or another true scorer to add to that top six. But like Rachel said, you know, she hit it right on the head that there wasn't the need for that. And with all the crazy large long-term contracts that are being tossed around this year, like I didn't see the Wings needing to throw any type of money like that. And I think we see that with two of our scorers which we're going to talk about in the next segment, that need to be signed, but are now heading toward arbitration. It kind of shows that Yzerman wasn't looking at throwing out the long-term or the high value. And I think where we are as a team and where we're looking to be over the next couple seasons, especially if we stay on this flat cap, I think the way we approached this free agency period was exactly how they needed to.
Makes sense. All good points. Devin, bring us home here. Any disappointments or missed opportunities in the free agent market?
I think that all three of you have already kind of hit it on the head. This just wasn't the year to really go out and get a big splash, or make a big splash rather. So yeah, there were some guys on the market that would have been cool to add, but now it's just not the time. And especially with, like Rachel said, to go out and get Nedeljkovic, You don't need to get a goalie anymore.
Right.
Kyle, you highlighted Letty. You don't need to go out and get a left-handed defenseman anymore unless it's like a depth guy.
Right.
If you've already addressed your needs beforehand, there's no reason to go out and get another thing, you know?
Yep, absolutely. Right. And I think, that it makes the most sense. Look, I mean, I'm going to date myself a little bit here, but I'll never forget that summer in 2001 when Hasek, Hall, Robitaille, but every summer is not going to be like that, right? And that was one heck of a summer until I realized, wait, Hasek, where's Osgood going? Oh no! But I digress. I think super good points. I agree with everybody here. It just wasn't the time nor the place. That's not as far off as we may think it is, but it wasn't this year. So good points. Now let's round it out. And everybody's pretty much already heard what we have to say if you go back and read the column. So Rachel, want to start with you again. Give this Red Wings free agency period an overall grade.
I was going to say, wait, we're talking about the draft?
Surprise!
My notes are so wrong right now. I would say, honestly, all things considered, I would say A. And there was no reason, especially right now with where we're at in the development, there's no reason to take enormous risk. There's a lot of talented players that we have in the prospect pool that Steve is going to be investing in the seasons to come. So you don't want to get those lengthy, expensive contracts and everything. So I think getting the players, the much needed players that we needed for right now, re-signing the players that we needed for 1 to 2 to 3 seasons in the future, and not strapping ourselves with cash, I think they put themselves in a great position. So I would say it was an A for sure.
Just to piggyback off of that, what more could you want?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Well, then Devin, what's your grade?
An A. I don't know how you could have done better unless you made some crazy thing happen that's impossible. Like
bit of Stanley Cup.
Well, exactly.
Kyle, any last thoughts on your grade for the Red Wings moves and free agents?
I would give them, a B plus A minus, only for the fact that, we still need to sign Hronik. We still need to sign Ernie. We still need to sign Vrana. And they are going to arbitration, which basically means that where they were asking what Steve was willing to pay them was kind of too far off for them to really hit a middle ground on their own. So now they're going to a third party. It doesn't really mean anything other than we might be throwing more money at them than we had originally intended. But with the way our cap is right now, we definitely have that space. Would I have loved to have seen a big name just to have a big name? Maybe, depending on who it was, maybe a Landeskog would have been fun to get. But just to get an Eichel, I don't think, I think avoiding that type of situation was perfect.
Makes sense. For what it's worth. I gave him a B, solid, good, fine. And all I expected it to be was fine. And in fact, it was probably a little bit better than fine, but overall, I want to save that A for, the Hasek, Hall, and Robitaille.
Fair. Well, that was an A plus year. That was extra credit.
Sure. all the way around the classroom for you Christmas Story fans.
Yes.
No, though, Pat, you might have given that an A minus just because of Ozzy.
He's got a point. He's got a point.
Actually, I might have dropped him down to a C.
Touche. All really good points. I really appreciate the perspective on free agency. Let's take a quick timeout, pay some bills. Thank you so much for watching our show. Give us a like, subscribe to the Hockey Writers channel. There is so much good stuff on here. We've got Blackhawks banter, Sabres Scoop, the newest show, What's Crackin'. We've got Chicks and Sticks. And as always, the OG show, The Hockey Writers Live with Mark Shig. Follow us on Twitter. Sign up for our morning newsletter. We're on Spotify. We're on iHeartRadio. If you want us to send the Pony Express to get you hockey news, we will send the Pony Express. Give Rachel a follow as well on Twitter. And just thanks so much for checking out our stuff. We love sharing the comments with you. And thanks for watching. So, all right.
What's the pony's name?
Hank.
Gustav or Nyquist. What was the one in Nyquist from
Yes,
The
yes.
Kentucky Derby a couple years ago.
I was actually still in a Christmas Story frame of mind. I was trying to remember the Lone Ranger's nephew's horse's name, but I can't remember the answer to that. So I digress.
You'll remember it later.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Buttercup, so you all beat me.
I don't know. I kind of like that.
Who thought we'd be talking about horse names on today's show? Let me tell you.
We are a variety show, whether we know it or not.
We talk the ponies.
So speaking of those YouTube comments, one of our favorite fans out there, Paradox Destroyer, hi Paradox, kindly reminded us that the Red Wings are kind of in a center surplus right now. You think about Larkin, Suter, Rasmussen, Veleno, Stevens, Gagne, and Fabry out there, and now we're hearing chatter for Chase Pearson to potentially crack the lineup. So I want to take a step back. Let's talk to Paradox and everybody else here for a minute. And what are the Red Wings going to do with their center situation? Let's project their top four centers right now, and where better to start than with Rachel.
Yes, I was excited for this one because obviously Pearson and Rasmussen, I've watched them for a couple of seasons now. So for Pearson finally signing again, I got pumped. He's a fantastic player, and we lost Dom Turgeon in Grand Rapids. So Pearson's kind of filling that role. But if he can crack Detroit's lineup, I could see him maybe being like a third or a fourth line, not super high quite yet. But Rasmussen, he had a 3-year extension. That's a big deal. It's one of the longest ones that Steve has signed. I think he'll be potentially 1 or 2. I can see him being kind of pushed to be higher just because they're trying to challenge him more. So definitely Pearson a little lower, Rasmussen, Larkin, of course. And then I think Suter and Gagne, those two are kind of, I'm torn in my mind. So I think Gagne, he's taking a position as a mentor for the players. And so I think his role is going to be kind of like a fourth line grinder position, almost like Glenn Denning sort of was, where he's a producer. He can get points when he's on the ice, but his role is going to be helping develop those younger players, fill those roles. So it might be a crazy shot in the dark. You got 2 young guys with Rass and Pearson in there. But I think now's the time where Steve is going to start putting those young guys in there and putting the pressure on to make them vie for the spots that they want. So,
super good points. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And it's probably anyone's guess, but if I'm a betting man, which I am, I would take your guess over just about anybody's. So,
thank you.
And on that note, Devin, what's your guess?
Well,
I was going to say, why even ask us now?
Well, I've got a little note sheet here, and I'll tell you right now, most of them are about this question. So buckle in. I will start by saying that I think 3 of the center spots are tentatively locked down by Larkin, Suter, and Rasmussen. At least to start. I think there's about 4 or 5 guys that are going to vie for that 4th spot, and that would be Stevens, that Kyle mentioned, Gagne, Nielsen, and Pearson, and Rasmussen potentially. Now, my 2 ideas of the 4 centers are either Larkin, Suter, Rasmussen, and Stevens. Or if he has a good training camp, we might be looking at something like Larkin, Suter, Veleno, and Rasmussen. And I think that would be, in my opinion, that's the ideal outcome, because that means Veleno won a job out of training camp, and that's what you're looking for out of him. Now, do I think Pearson can win a spot? I do. I think that he was a 2015 draft pick. So, we talked about Svechnikov this past season. His time's coming. Same draft. So Pearson's time's coming. Yzerman did note that in a recent press availability that Pearson does not require waivers, I'm pretty sure, to go down. And that's definitely consideration with these things. And also, he wants to make sure that he gets optimal playing time. If he's only going to be playing 6 or 7 minutes on the 4th line, he'd rather him play 18 to 20 minutes in Grand Rapids. So depending on how things shake out, yes, I do see Pearson as a legitimate threat to make the roster, but it depends a lot on players that are not him. I'm very intrigued by this. I think, how last season we started with Fabry down the center? I think that Suter kind of fills that role where they start him down the middle. And if he doesn't, if he fares as well as Robbie Fabry did, he'll probably end up moving to the wing. and and somebody else will fill that hole. But yeah,
sure.
like you said, Pat, there's a lot of candidates down the middle, and I think that's a testament to the depth that Yzerman has built up over the last couple of seasons.
Devin bringing the heat along with Rachel. Kyle, this is a tough act to follow. Your thoughts, Kyle, on the Red Wings center situation heading into this season?
Isn't it such a great problem to have that we now have center depth? We have center depth that we are now unsure of where we're going to be coming into the season. This is a great problem to have. I'm glad we're having this discussion. I mean, really at this point, it could be a coin flip. It could be, a couple guys getting more opportunities on that first line, moving Larkin into that true second line role. I'd love to see, Veleno making that third line spot. So I think maybe we see Seider starting on that top line with Larkin being that second line center, and then maybe Veleno one out. And then we're talking kind of a rotation between Stevens, Rasmussen get some time, although he could get switched to a wing somewhere. I think Gagne is going to get switched to a wing kind of on that fourth line. As Rachel said, he's really there as a mentor role. I think he could play that right side quite well on that third line and be able to rotate with some younger players and let them get more experience down the middle and still be that defensive presence on that line. I mean, the opportunities and options are endless right now, which is great. But I think we're going to see one of the younger kids kind of start toward that top line, let Larkin really move into that second line role. And then, I mean, the depth is great. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch during training camp and see, who's been in the gym and who's going to come out, winning those spots.
Sure. Maybe instead of 11-7, the Wings run 14-4. What do you think?
Yeah, there you go.
I love it.
Super good insight on a wonderful question. It was a great question and really good insight from all three of you. So thank you for that. Let's segue and keep talking a little bit about the forwards, at least, because as Kyle has alluded to a few times, let's talk salary arbitration. We've got a couple of forwards out there heading towards arbitration. They both have dates set as of this recording. We've got Vrana, who's got a date of August 11th, and we've got Adam Ernie, who's got a date of the 21st. Now, I'll spoil everything, and I'm going to say I don't think either of those actually go to arbitration. I think deals probably happened before, but I don't think people want to hear necessarily my opinion. Let's hear Rachel's opinion. What does this mean? We've got Verano, we've got Ernie heading to arbitration. What does that mean for the Red Wings for the grand scheme of things? And is there any cause for concern?
I don't think there's really a cause for concern. I've never been a huge fan of arbitration, and I'm sure I've mentioned that a time or two, most likely. But I think with the way our cap is, it's not that the team, I think, is being tight-fisted with it. And I think Vrana and Ernie have definitely earned a good deal of money. They both put out a lot for the team last season and the season before in Ernie's case. But I don't think it's a huge threat. I don't think it's a huge concern. It would add to the forward. There's the center position kerfuffle we have going on here too. So that's something to consider. So if you want those younger guys kind of filling those roles, why would you pay someone extra to not have that role, and vice versa? Why would you have a prospect up trying to vie for that spot if you've already paid someone more to do it? So It kind of adds, I mean, it depends on what side of the coin you're looking, really, but I don't think it hurts the team. It just kind of forces their hand a little bit more than I think what they want to. And I don't think, I just don't think a team likes to be in that position. But then again, it's not like they haven't earned it. I don't want it to seem like either of them are not worth their money. Because I think they are, but there's also moving pieces. There's strategic play with where they're at, and I'm just not sure that, paying them more is going to be worthwhile long term.
And we all saw, obviously, Tyler Bertuzzi went through arbitration last season, and really the arbitrator kind of ruled more in Yzerman's or the Red Wings' favor on that one, not by much, but I think the Red Wings got a little bit more of an edge. If it does go to a hearing, it'll be interesting to see how this one is ruled, especially considering the amount of room the Red Wings have with cap space. But again, Kyle, I feel like you're busting at the seams to chat about this. So your thoughts on Vrana and Ernie heading to arbitration, and is there any cause for concern, or what will be the outcome?
There's not any cause for concern on this. Rachel made great points in saying that we have the room. They're likely working on these deals behind the scenes. I believe Ernie will get done quicker than Vrana just because he's kind of dealt with Yzerman more, not only through the Red Wings the past couple of years, but through the Lightning as well before then. So there's a lot of familiarity there. Ernie has done really well with the Red Wings, in which he has earned a pay raise. And then same with Vrana, especially, he only came over for, 14 games, but he still was our second in scoring or something. So he's definitely going to get a lot more than probably what we were looking to pay. But it could also have come down to term. And I think that's a big thing here is these guys have been looking for the long term, and Yzerman didn't really want to commit to that right away. And so by going to arbitration, they can get a 1 or 2 year term, which will actually really help out in the Wings' favor in the long term. So if Vrana wants to hold out for that more money, that's fine. We have the space, but that's going to shorten his term, which in the end will be very good for the Red Wings if this doesn't work out. And then if it does work out, we're in a great position to then give him that term deal, probably at a discount.
And as you're talking about term, Kyle, must I remind these players what happened to the one player who got the longest deal of anyone in the Yzerman tenure? And for those who may not be aware, that's Anthony Mantha, who got a 4-year deal before last season. And now Vrana's in arbitration. So
Bye.
How that works out. So on that note, Devin, bring us home. Your thoughts on Vrana and Ernie in arbitration. Do we need to be worried about that? How's this going to play out?
2 things to start. 1, I agree with you, Pat. I think they both get done before arbitration. And then 2, I agree with you, Kyle, that Ernie gets done before Vrana. And the main reason why is because he spent the last two full seasons with Detroit. So they have a better grip on what they're dealing with. So to that point, I'm going to focus on Vrana for the rest of this answer.
Sure.
I wrote an article a couple months ago projecting what his contract is going to look like. So look that up. But
shameless plug.
Yes, I'm full of them today.
Dean dropped the link.
There. Anyways, no. In all seriousness, this is a tricky negotiation. I think Vrana is very comparable to Mantha in a lot of ways. So it could be very easy to just offer him Mantha's deal and call it good. However, Vrana, to Kyle's point, has played a dozen games for the Wings, if that. How do you negotiate a long-term deal with somebody if you've only gotten a glimpse of them?
Right.
But also, he was dynamite in those games. So how do you give him a 1 or 2 year deal when you know you're going to have to pay him in 2 years? It's tricky. Yzerman's walking a tightrope with this situation, and you have to find the right fit for both sides. And there's also the fact that, and I mentioned this in the article, Vrana looked great in Detroit, but he's only really gotten his feet wet with the team. I'm sure he hasn't even really seen what the city is all about. He doesn't really know what he's really signing up for, so to speak. He might not even know if he wants to be here for 8 years, So there's a lot of question marks to this situation. So it does not surprise me one bit that a deal is not done yet, because there's just too much to figure out.
I think another thing to consider as well, Devin, you brought up the tightrope that Yzerman's walking, and there's a whole team of players who maybe say they don't pay attention to it, but you think people aren't paying attention to what your peers are making based on the deal that you signed. So we actually called out when Mantha signed his deal last year that he was a lower AAV hit than Larkin. Because Larkin was the captain, and we actually called that out at the time. So I think that adds an either different element to the tightrope of where are you going to land with these players. So super, I said it a lot, but super good insight today. You guys
all good insights, all good points.
Yeah, for real. Just put it on repeat.
Came to play today, man.
So now the moment we have been waiting for all week.
Insert drum roll.
So I am proud to introduce a new segment on this show that I would like to call Explain Yourself Right Now. We have been waiting all week to hear Rachel explain why at the end of last week's show. And if you haven't watched, go check it out before you continue on with this segment. Everybody, I thought, was going to be unanimous in agreeing that Mo Seider would start the season with the Red Wings. And then Rachel had to go because there's one in every crowd. She had to go take a scorching hot take, or might I say some hot cider.
Oh, there you go. That's good.
That he will not be on the opening day roster. So Rachel, explain yourself right now.
First of all, I don't like the aggression. I feel like I'm on trial here.
But I'm smiling.
I'll take it.
You might be. This might be the trial as to whether you can come back.
This might be the last show I'm ever on.
The teammate trial, our kangaroo court, has taken place.
Oh, amateur tryout. All right. So let me preface this by saying I think Mo Seider is an incredible player. I am not bashing his ability whatsoever. So for all those out there that think I'm just an absolute hater, I'm not. He's fantastic, and you can't help but see that. My reasoning for him not being on the opening lineup is so let's get this straight. He's going to be during preseason. He'll play during preseason, no problem. But there is a lot more to it than just, he was phenomenal for one season in the AHL and then over in Germany, or not Germany, he's been playing the SHL. So he's had a great European season. And granted, he had a wonderful development prior to even getting drafted. That, once you get drafted, in my mind, is all a blank slate. What can you do now? So when you get to the AHL, he did a phenomenal job in Grand Rapids. There's a few little things that he's got to work on still. So like mature, he's very mature. So maturity, his body positioning, he can get a little reckless sometimes with his hits, and that's going to cause some problems. And his skating is really good, but it does need to get a little bit faster. But those are all minor things those that he worked on. So his ability to perform during training camp is going to determine what placement he gets. At least part one. So this is part one. There's another part. Yeah, right.
It's okay. This Rachel, this segment's all yours.
Yes. I got notes. So with training camp, I don't know if any of you guys have ever had the privilege of going to training camp. The way they have it formatted, it is absolutely grueling. They get separated off into 3 teams. And those teams, they're mixed in with some vets, some rookies, some newly drafted kids, some invitees to camp out of prospect tournament. So it's kind of a mashup. And how they perform there in each of those workouts, each of those on-ice drills, and their off-ice performances will determine how they're placed following that and in preseason and what part of the lineup they get. Yzerman over the last couple seasons has made training camp incredibly difficult. I've been going to it for 6 seasons now. And initially when it was under Holland, Blashill did his thing. They did really good workouts and all the team works together. These last couple seasons has been a completely different feel, a completely different vibe, and completely different physical requirement. Under Yzerman, with training camp getting harder and harder and harder, the physical demands on the player are going to be more difficult, and that's going to determine everything of where players are placed, including the invitees. So in Seider's case, he's not completely safe. There is dozens of prospects that are going to be coming out of training camp, out of drafting, out of the AHL affiliate, and even the ECHL affiliate that are going to be vying for the exact same position that he is. So second point being, in Grand Rapids, so where he was at, there are a lot of defensemen that we have that are potentially ready to make that jump. So if Seider does not perform to the standard that Steve is looking for, and again, he's an amazing player, but if he is not ready to make that full-time position and get all those minutes, and we were just talking about this with all the centers that we have currently in the system too, if he is not ready to get all those minutes in Detroit, he's going to put him where he's going to play the most. And in my opinion, that's in Grand Rapids. So right now, I'm going to look at my cheat sheet here. We just re-signed Gustav Lindstrom, who is right now Detroit. He will be in Detroit. So that's one position gone. You've got Letty, Osterley, Stahl, Pat Holloway, who is pretty much, he's in Grand Rapids right now, but he's also very mature in his career. So he's looking at making that jump pretty soon. And then you also have to take into mind Donovan Sabrango, who having a phenomenal season last season in Grand Rapids because he couldn't play in the OHL. This season, it's either the OHL, they send him back, or it's the NHL. There's no AHL for him. So that is another piece that's going to play heavily into what they do with Seider. So I think at face value, he has the skill. When it comes to all this stuff on the back end, contractually and with the way transactions are working and the rosters are working, I don't think he's going to be on opening night. I think he'll be preseason. They'll send him back to Grand Rapids and then they'll pull him up later in the season. But I don't think he's going to start. There's too much going on the back end for him to get that shoe in position. Yzerman's not just going to hand it to him.
So we
burn me at the stake.
No, I was gonna say,
that was well explained.
We challenged you to defend your grind line thesis. And obviously
we have to give her a master's now.
Exactly.
I am open for ridicule. I can take it.
I mean, I can't really pick apart that argument right now.
Well, exactly, right? That's you passed with
Devin looks like he might be able to.
So he wants to. He wants to.
I love a good debate.
I did lie because
Fight me.
Rachel, I promised you the entire segment, so I lied because Devin over there rubbing his hands. So Devin, rebuttal. Let's put you on the spot, Devin. What are your thoughts? Instant reaction. Right?
Do we get 2 minutes of penalties after this? Because I feel like it's going to be a brawl.
2 minutes for roughing.
Yeah. Right.
No, I will say I have no problems with your argument there, Rachel. I actually 100% agree with it. If you can look at the right side of the blue line right now and go. Hronek, Stetcher, and Lindstrom. Oh, where does Seider fit in?
Yeah.
So in that sense, yeah, I have no arguments there. I go back to I don't remember which event he was following up, but somebody asked Yzerman about Seider and how he performed this season, and he said something to the tune of, "We believe the NHL is the next step for him." So I think that the expectation there is that he's going to get a roster spot. Now, expectations doesn't mean he's going to get it. Don't get me wrong. But I look at what he did this season. I look at what he did the season prior with Grand Rapids. I just, his development curve has been doing this. I don't see it doing this.
Sure.
Hopefully not.
Well, no, absolutely.
I love the visual.
Hey, sorry to our listeners on Spotify and wherever else. I did a cool graph thing for you.
Go back and watch it on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. I did it. I promise. Anyways, no. In all seriousness, I do think there's a reality out there where Seider doesn't make the team. I think that this reality he will make the team. But I think Rachel's argument is very valid.
I would love for him for sure to make the team. I think that'd be great. And again, I don't want people to think that I don't think he can. So let's just put it out there. I really love that kid and he plays great. But yeah, and Devin, that's an excellent point too, in that the expectation versus reality, I think we all get wrapped up into that until the season plays out. You just don't know. Anything could happen and Yzerman could change his mind at the drop of a hat. And something could happen in training camp that prohibits it from happening, or he could be a stud. And so I'm excited.
I'll even back you up a little bit.
A little bit. Thank you.
When the Wings,
not too much.
Chivalry's not dead.
When the Wings drafted Zadina and they brought him up, or at least like to Grand Rapids, everyone was kind of assuming he was gonna just immediately join the Red Wings and be a superstar.
There's too much expectation too soon.
That's also true.
And that can very much be a thing happening with Seider here. So I think that this is a good opportunity to exercise some caution. Seider's not going to come in and be a Norris Trophy winner right away.
Yep. Well, and Devin, you brought up Yzerman's quote about the next level is the NHL. Well, I don't know about you, but Yzerman's notorious for tipping his hand. Oh, wait, no. So I don't necessarily know if we got to hold him to that. But Kyle, I want to give you the last word on this. Any rebuttal? Do you love it? Do you hate it? What's your take?
Play nice.
The fan in me wants Seider on the team. And so it is kind of hard to look past that right now. But from the standpoint of, being objective, Rachel has definitely made the argument that makes the most sense, that there's not really those roster spots that we can just pencil him in right now. Certainly can't pen him in anywhere. And then, it will come down to, where are players playing this year? Do we have players? Are we loaning any more players overseas? Are we keeping everyone in Grand Rapids? Are we letting players go back to the OHL to dominate, to get that confidence? Do we need to make Seider have a little bit of adversity? Do we need to throw him down to the AHL to see how he responds to not getting that shoe in spot? Maybe this is a way of testing him to see what that metal really is made of down the road. It's, and like you said, Yzerman is notorious for tipping his hand, and that's why we are able to read his mind right now.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Totally.
Obviously I want Seider on the team. He, as a defenseman, as a fan, he just gets me excited with the way he plays. And I think he is the future of this organization personally. So yes, I want him there, but do I want him to be rushed? Do I want him to be unprepared? No. So
Sure.
I will take that circumstance if that means in 2-3 years we get Seider at his top potential.
I'll even go back a little bit further beyond Zadina. I think it was 2016, 2017, somewhere in that range. Anthony Mantha in training camp looked ready to play for the Red Wings. There was no doubt about it. But they sent him to Grand Rapids, and he played about 10 games there, lit up the AHL, and they were like, all right, he's ready to go. They brought him up. So I think that could very well be what happens here. Seider starts the season in AHL, plays 10 games there, rocks everyone's world, and then they go, all right, the kid's ready.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, it is going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. Rachel, you're a super good sport. Thanks for playing along. And
thanks for letting me stand on my soapbox.
Anytime, because that's what I was going to say. For those of you watching or listening, what do you think of the opinion? Definitely leave that in the comments. But remember, if anybody knows this stuff inside and out, it is Rachel Anderson.
It's Rachel.
Oh, shucks. Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
But we want to hear from you. What's your opinion? What do you think? Are we going to see Mo? Yes or no? Looking forward to the responses. And with
I like
that,
the rhyme there.
Yeah, that was top notch.
Don't encourage him, Rachel.
Keep it going.
maybe next week.
We're gonna get you a cat in a hat for next week.
That's our show. Again, thank you for watching, for commenting. Thank you for joining us. Give us a like, a subscribe, comment. We'd love to hear from you. Follow us on Twitter. Follow Rachel on Twitter. And we will see you again next week. Thanks.